You what? Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, we're going to begin with Tyler Hacking. We'll talk about the benefits and different research and data that he's done. There we go.
Thank you, Tim. Hey everybody, I have a hard time hearing, so I'm going to speak up a little bit. I have kids, so I'm used to it. Alright, I'm here to talk to you about a few things that are really important to me. I grew up in Utah, and this place is a desert, but there are really nice places here. We have a lot of environmental diversity in Utah, and some of my favorite places in the world are in Utah, in canyons and on farms. And I really like to study the chemistry of the soil in these places, and how it affects the plants that live here. I started working on cannabis farms when I was a teenager. Didn't really tell my mom. She thought it was apple farms. So I started a bit young, about 20 years ago, in Northern California, Washington, and Oregon, where I learned first how to not grow cannabis, and then I learned how to start growing cannabis. Eventually, I got to a point where I felt like I couldn't learn anymore in that situation. So I went back to school. And I started a Bachelor of Science in Botany at UVU. And 2 years ago, I started a professional consulting business, and I consult for farms, not just in Utah, but across the nation. I now have a few international clients. And most of them hit me up for cannabis and mushrooms, but what I end up talking to them about is soil, almost every time. And eventually I looked down and I realized I had a green thumb. That was my joke for that slide. Alright, so here in Utah, we have a very specific environment. The techniques that work in other places don't tend to work here because of the extreme environment that we have annually. I'll give you a couple of examples. Utah is always in the top 15 when it comes to temperature, and we're always in top 6 when it comes to dryness, atmospheric relative humidity. So, as you can see, I circled in blue where Utah lies on this chart. The green line is what we would call a Goldilocks zone for optimal photosynthesis. If you want to maximize photosynthesis, you have to correlate temperature and humidity in the environment that plant is growing in, or it has cellular deficiencies. So in Utah, in order to optimize cannabis cultivation, we have to consider these variables and try to change the environment the plant is growing in to be more conducive for its biochemistry. Utah soil is a bit alkaline. This causes a lot of different problems. And what happens when the pH of the soil changes is nutrients that are there become fixated. They are not bioavailable to the plant. Some good examples are manganese, boron, copper, zinc, and even some of the macronutrients, nitrogen and phosphorus, can become fixated in the clay that we have here in Utah. So I like to start every one of my consultations with soil and water analysis. I think it's important to have data when you approach a client so that you're not speculating on the feedback that you're giving them. This also allows you to know where you're starting and create a goal of where you're going in soil transformation. This last couple of years, I've been lucky enough to be exposed to a lot of different instrumentation. I think it's really important, as I said, to start with data. And so this bottom right image displays an on-site analysis that we did of a crop last year. And it's amazing. I don't know if you know this, but you can fit a laboratory in a briefcase now and do liquid chromatography mass spectroscopy in a field. Not cheap, but it's better than waiting 2 weeks for a laboratory to send it back to you, I think. So I do a lot of on-site analysis, I look for pests, I try to essentially help my clients to overcome the problems that are preventing them from being successful in this industry. Here's some bug pictures I took that I like to share. They're all over the plants here in Utah, and we can't spray random chemicals on them. We need to treat them organically. Learning how to do this is as critical as understanding your soil, especially here in Utah, where one of the best smelling crops is cannabis. So I spent a lot of time on farms, hands-on, teaching clients technique. Once again, I try to just find their problems and focus on that, try to figure out what they need to learn to accomplish their goals. And I bring a lot of students and people in the industry with me to professionally shadow so that they can see applied science and how to help these farms to do what they're already trying to do more successfully. Unfortunately, this industry has a 90% annual failure rate. We had over 300 hemp businesses when we started. Now we're down to about 60. We work hard, but we also play hard. And I want to communicate to you that cannabis is not just one thing. It's not just medical marijuana. It's not just CBD oil. It's also textiles. One of my good friends, Manuel and Kerr, who started the World Hemp Association, and all that they focus on is textiles. The way that this industry is going, in the next couple of years, they should be able to completely take all of the business from the cotton industry, specifically because it takes a sixth of the amount of water to get the same amount of fiber from hemp as it does from cotton. So when I started consulting here, I was called out to a few farms where they had weeds that were bigger than their weed. It's really funny to me. This picture on the right is not mine, but it's a fantastic example of what happens when you monocrop in agriculture. When you're growing just one plant, the quality of the soil degrades. You really want biodiversity in your field in the non-competitive symbiotic aspect that enables this sustainability of soil biology. So, all of these farms that I come out to, essentially they all have the same problem, it's their soil. Almost every problem that you can think of in the agriculture industry that has to do with the logistics and cultivation can be sourced back to soil. In Utah, we have clay, sand, silt, and salt. In fact, we have such low amounts of organic matter that most of our soil here is toxic, and the plants that evolved here live in places that no other plants can live because they're so specially adapted to the toxic, salty soil in Utah. So, I like to change that. I like to add organic matter and soil biology by vermicomposting, by using worms. They're the fastest form of composting. You can also use them to compost aerobically. And the big difference between aerobic and anaerobic decomposition is that in the absence of oxygen, you're making alcohols and other things that dissolve plant roots. You want to aerobically compost for ideal plant nutrients. And so I use this compost to make compost tea. It allows me to take 1 cup of material and turn it into 400 gallons of tea. It treats quite a few acres. The last couple of years, I've been testing out my products, my compost and compost tea, on my clients' crops, and I've had fantastic results. This picture on the right was sent to me by my friend Todd Moon. I don't know if he's here today. Here, Todd? Hey, Todd! And the picture on the top right is the crop before I got to this farm. The picture on the bottom is the crop after I got to the farm, where we started mixing vermicompost into the soil, making other changes and treating with compost. As you can see, it's a drastic increase in not only biomass production, but the quality of the composition, the plant's resistance to insects, and aridity. Every part of the plant is strengthened. by making the soil better, and just enabling the plant to grow. Because you're not making the plant grow, you're just providing an environment in which the plant can do its own thing. These are some pictures from this here. This one on the left is a 9-foot hemp plant down in Pacing Canyon. And the reason that I wanted to show you this farm is because even in Utah, there are places of ideal agriculture. This farm only spent $150 on water last year, and they're doing almost 40 acres, which is insane. The reason they're able to pull that off is because they're located in a place where the water comes up out of the ground into their soil. And by using software and scientific data, we can isolate areas like this to promote sustainable agriculture in Utah by using the resources that are already available in our environment. These are a few of the other farms I really like, healthy plants. All right, so I brought in some of my worm crap for you guys today. If you would like to give it a sniff, go right ahead. It smells like the rainforest. It's the only reason that my wife will let me do it in our house. And I presented it recently at the Sustainability Day at my university. And right now we're developing a composting program at UVU. We created 2 student positions. We're working on faculty positions. And what we're doing is just taking all of the green waste, all of the paper and cardboard and food waste, and we've set aside about 11 acres of space to compost. In the end, we'll be saving UVU about $200,000 on the cost of human labor replacing sod, synthetic nitrogen, and the disposal of green waste and paper and cardboard. So composting is very sustainable. One of the objections I get is, oh, well, your compost is making CO2. Right. But if you apply